Welcome to today's class. Today I'll be talking about matching supply and demand. Remember, anything that happens in the market or anything that happens in purchasing, it is always controlled by the forces of demand and supply. Sometimes you realize that the demand is too high, yet the supply is too little, or the supply is too high and the demand is not there. So you need to create a level of equilibrium between demand and supply. And for this to be possible, what you need to understand is the issue to do with inventory. So what is inventory? Inventory can also be referred to as stock. And these are the materials that the organization has to be able to ensure that the operations are effective. For example, raw materials. Raw materials are a form of inventory that are used for production. So the concept of inventory control is a process that is employed to maximize a company's use of inventory. And one of the goals of inventory control is to be able to generate profits, basically maximization of profits at the least amount possible, and be able to reduce the costs with an aim of ensuring that the customers are able to get the satisfaction that they require in a particular product or service. So it is always important for the organization to be able to consider inventory control. So what are some of the reasons that an organization requires when they are holding inventory? So one of the reasons for holding inventory is that where the delivery cannot be matched with the day-to-day activities or usage due to fluctuation of demand and supply. If you cannot match supply and demand, therefore it is always important for the organization to be able to hold some few inventory to be able to be strategic or competitive at the end of the day. The other thing is that where the economies of scale associated with buying or manufacturing of quantity is more to offset the cost of stock holding. So if you're able to get let's say discounts, for example, you can decide to hold your inventory so that at the end of the day, when you are going to buy new inventory, you'll be able to benefit from what is called the economies of scale. The other thing is the operational risks. Some organizations do not want to be involved in let's say issues to do with when machines break down, for example. We have that time that we don't have inventory. So organization basically put or hold inventory so that they can prevent the operations when the machines break down, and this can be effective for those organizations. We also have issues to do with work in progress. We have those machines like furniture, for example. Before you can dry the timber, for example, so that you can come up with a new furniture, that time might be too long. So it is always important for the organization to be able to create a balance between the production flow and the finished goods. So you must consider that. You also need to consider the finished products. So the organization basically holds safety stock, and this allows customers to be able to be satisfied and be able to get the desirable goods that they require. We also have price fluctuation. Some organizations hold inventory to avoid issues to do with price fluctuation. Remember, sometimes the prices can be high or low. So organizations normally buy good when the prices are low so that they can keep it or hold it and sell it when the prices are high. The other thing is also to be able to attract customers. When you have a variety of inventory in place, for example, when you walk into a supermarket today, you realize they have a variety of products, and this basically allows the customers to be able to get goods that they want, and this also attracts the customers to come every day. Then the other thing is about the supplier policy. We have some organizations that have a policy, or they have agreed with their suppliers that they are going only to supply a particular goods when we have the minimum order quantity. So what are some of the risks associated with holding stock? One of the risks is that we have fashions or taste changes, and this happens most of the time when you have fashion changes. So it's always good to hold little inventory. We also have deterioration of stock. When stock lose value, we have fluctuation in demand and supply. So it's always good to keep optimum inventory. We have capital tied up in inventory. When you have a lot of inventory in store, then that it means you are tying up your capital, and that is the money that you're tying up. So sometimes you can walk into an organization that has a lot of inventory, and at the end of the day, the organization says that it does not have money. Remember that money is tied up in the inventory that they are holding. Sometimes you're stretching storage capacity. When you are holding a lot of stock, this can lead to your organization stretching your storage capacity. Let's say if you have a smaller store and you have a lot of inventory, so you require extra space to be able to store the extra goods. The other one is theft and pilferation. When you have a lot of stock in place, employees or even the customers will be able to steal the inventory, and this can lead to losses to your organization. And we also have the obsolete. We have those items that are obsolete. They cannot even be sold to customers. So when you buy materials and they become obsolete, then that means the organization is going to encounter losses. So what are some of the costs related to stock? We have 4 major costs that are related to stock. The first one is the ordering cost, also referred to as the procurement cost or replenishment cost or acquisition cost. The cost of ordering sometimes is very high. This is because sometimes you also need to do some follow-ups to your suppliers. You must send some quotation, you must request quotation from your suppliers, and this can also be costly to your organization. The other type of cost is the stock holding cost. When you're holding a lot of inventory in store or in the warehouse, at the end of the day, the stock is going to accumulate in terms of monetary value. So it is always good for the organization to be able to put the optimum inventory. Remember, inventory is always considered a waste in any organization. So if you have a lot of inventory, then at the end of the day, you are losing as a company. The other type of cost is called the carrying cost. The cost of transporting materials from one place to another sometimes is very costly. Remember, when you are traveling or you are transporting those materials, sometimes when we have bumps on the roads, sometimes you are breaking down of the vehicles, and this can also affect even the inventory. For example, if it was perishable goods. And the last type of cost is called the stock out cost. This is the cost of not having any inventory in place. Remember, when the customer comes to your organization and he or she is looking for a particular good, in the event they don't find that good, sometimes they are demotivated to come to that organization. Therefore, it's always important to avoid stock out at all costs. So what are some of the objectives of inventory control? Inventory control has various objectives. The first one is to ensure continuous supply of materials. So when you have good management practice of inventory in place, you are able to maintain the continuous supply of materials. You also are able to avoid issues to do with overstocking and understocking of inventory. So organization must be able to keep optimum stock, no understocking or no overstocking of the materials. You also need to keep material cost under control by contributing to reduction of costs and the overall cost of the organization. Inventory management also ensures minimization of inventory by ensuring we don't have damages or wastages in inventory. It also enables perpetual inventory control so that materials shown in stock ledgers should be actually lying in the store. So inventory control creates a balance between the actual stock and the expected stocks in the system. So you're able to know how much you have physically and how much you have in the system. You also are able to have the right quality of goods at reasonable price. So when you are doing your negotiation, it's always good to negotiate about the quality of the goods that you are going to purchase, and the price must be affordable, so that when you're going to sell them to the customer is not overcharged. You also need to maintain investment of inventory at optimum level as required by the operational and the sales activity. So you must always maintain your investment, and remember, your investment, you must be able to get your returns. So when you are investing in inventory, you must invest carefully, so that you don't have losses at the end of the day. You also need to eliminate duplication in ordering or replenishment of stock. So when you're doing inventory control, issues of duplicate orders sometimes are reduced, because you already know what you have in store and what you require as an organization. So you also need to facilitate data for short-term and long-term planning for control. So when you have management in place, you're able to know how much you have, and this data basically is kept on a database. And in case you want to retrieve a particular information about a particular inventory, it is very easy for you to do that. Then lastly, we have the design of proper organization inventory. So you're able to have proper design on how you're going to manage your inventory. So thank you for listening. So inventory, as you all know, is one of the working capital in any organization. So after having the right inventory, it is always good to control that inventory, so that you don't have losses or you don't have damages of the same. So organizations that want to be strategic must always embrace good inventory control practices and management. Thank you for listening.